saying that, if I'm telling something like, oh, here's the thing I heard before, I want to, oh, here's a funny thing I heard in class before. I don't have to be, doing 10 studies to go find out if the teacher wasn't lying that it was raining earlier. But anyway, I only sell the best gear, tested and true. And the prices are set. So if you want to haggle, then go find a goblin. You've been traveling, eh? Have you been anywhere interesting? Ah, I know from Smith Argus. I'm not surprised he needs more gear. There's so many new recruits these days. Well, thank you, Harenger. Here's some money to cover your travel costs. Harenger, I gathered into this crate everything Argus asked for. Can you take it to him? Before speaking to Bartlett at Goldshire, then you can take a griffin back to him. Dungar Longdrink is our griffin master over in the trade district. Speak with Dungar, and then get this crate to Argus as fast as you can. We don't want our fighting men and women in Goldshire to go without fresh equipment. There is actually a side path over here, and it has an interesting merchant in here. Firstly, there's old Beasley here, not of interest. There's Paulie here, who is fucking tall. He sells the Champion's Treadblade for 100,000 gold. Does look pretty cool. I believe the Hordes got theirs for free because they won the event which brought this into existence. There's Lenny Fingers McCoy, who sells an old Lucky Coin, Lucky Rat's Tooth, Lucky Charm, Lucky Shirt, and Bombay's Colosseum Juice. For a fair bit of cash each. There's also Dasho Stonefist. And then there's these two poisoners who have a conversation here. Right, have you finished the concoction you've been working on? I'm tired of these spores filling up my shop. I'm working on it. I just don't want to sell it until I'm happy with it. Shouldn't be long. That's what you always say. Sometimes I think you're never going to finish that thing.
Looking for something specific?
I know before they used to sell poison supplies until poison was reduced to this single ability. In the past, rogues used to get this new profession. It didn't count towards any of your professions, but they would have the ability to craft their own poison. They would have to get herbs together and whatnot, and then they could make their poison. It was kind of cool. I never got leveled a rogue high enough level for it to be of use, to actually do it, so I can't really comment on it. But the idea is cool. But anyway, here's one of the few things that he still sells. Here's another conversation. Sir, I think we're close with the lethargy root in the last poison recipe. Remember, kid, you're always more wrong than you think you are. Double it. But anyway, here's the thing. Venomous Tome. When struck in melee, you have a chance of exhaling poison, inflicting 180 nature damage on a nearby enemy. Since these tips for poison design, this item can be read. I'd love to read it, but actually I can afford it. I'd lose money on it though. Actually, no, I'll hold on to them. I'll go put on these. They're better than McCree's gloves.
Have a good one.
Yeah, I'm curious what that book says. I could look it up on the wiki, but I can't be bothered right now. I'll just continue on doing what I'm doing. You've also may have noticed the apples on the ground back there. They're to do with one of the cooking quests, which you can get over here, right where the cursor is, like the finger is. You can get it over there. So yeah. Also, here's my two most hated people in the game. Uka Severing and Nane. He is the old Blessing of Might. Well, he has Blessing of Might. It's now non-existent. It's been removed from the game, and it's the old one. He also has one of the older variations of Blessing of Kings. Not quite the oldest, but he is an older one. The oldest one was plus 10% to all primary stats. They also both have Retribution Aura, which is quite damn nice. I quite like Retribution Aura. So yeah. Well, actually, sorry, Retribution Aura and like the auras, they're pretty much gone. I think you can get some of the auras with the right spec, but I don't know too much about that. It just all auras used to be baseline for all paladins. No, they aren't, and it's just like meh, you know, just missing. My father was a great man and an honourable king. His passing is a great loss to the Alliance. I will deploy a battalion of soldiers to Westfold at once. With the Defiance Brotherhood reborn, an old threat to the kingdom is renewed. The Defiance Brotherhood are not a force to be taken lightly, Harenger. What you have witnessed was the birth of a ruthless organization of criminals. They will stop at nothing to see Stormwind returns to rubble. I need you to return to return to Sentinel Hill and let Stoutmantle know that I'm sending him troops. I hope it's not too late.
Is only as noble as the causes he serves.
And funny enough, he's saying the situation here is dire. He's using the exact same quest text as the guy from Red Ridge. So it's kind of weird. Damn, I'm tired. There's Harrison Jones. Archaeology is in search of fact, not truth. If it's truth you're interested in, Cuddy Nordlinger's philosophy cast is right down the hall. So forget any ideas you've got about lost cities, exotic travel, and digging up the world. 70% of all archaeology is done in the library. Research, reading. We cannot afford to take mythology at face value. Someone flutters her eyelashes at him. Next week, next week, Tanaris, starting with the excavation of Broken Pillar by Marvin Rivet Seeker in year 22. I'll be here doing research if anyone's got any problems for the next hour and a half. And now there's a ton of books here. Let's start a reading. Yeah, this one's fine to start with. Lord Wotar rallied the remnants of Azeroth's armies after the defeat at Stormwind Keep, and then launched a massive exodus across the sea to the northern kingdom of Lordaeron. Convinced that the Horde would overcome all of humanity left unchecked, the leaders of 7 human nations met and agreed to unite in what would become known as the Alliance of Lordaeron. For the first time in nearly 3,000 years, the disparate nations of Arator were once again united under a common banner. Appointed as supreme commander of the Alliance forces, Lord Wotar prepared his armies for the coming of the Horde. Aided by his lieutenants, Uther the Lightbringer, Admiral Dalen Proudmoore, and Turalon, I can't say his name, Lothar was able to convince Lordaeron's demi-human races, dwarves, elves, gnomes, that kind of thing. Can you name me 3 things France is known for? Oral. Butter, butter, and butter. Wine, women, and song. Cheese eating, surrender, and monkeys. Demi-human races of the impending threat as well. The Alliance succeeded in gaining support for the Stoke Dwarves of Ironforge and a small number of High Elves of Caldalas. The Elves, led at the time by and Astarian Sunstrider were largely uninterested in the coming conflict. However, they were duty-bound to aid Lothar because he was the last descendant of the Arati bloodline, which had aided the elves in ages past. Let me take a quick drink. The Horde, now led by War Chief Doomhammer, brought in ogres from its homeworld of Draenor and conscripted the disfranchised Amani Forest Trolls into its fold. Setting out on a massive campaign to overrun the dwarf kingdom of Khazmodan and the southern reaches of Lordaeron, the Horde effortlessly decimated all opposition. The epic battles of the Second War ranged from large-scale naval skirmishes to massive aerial dogfights. Somehow, the Horde had unearthed a powerful artifact known as the Demon Soul, and used it to enslave the ancient Dragon Queen, Alexstrasza. Threatening to destroy her precious eggs, the Horde forced Alexstrasza to send her grown children to war. The noble red dragons were forced to fight for the Horde, and fight they did. The war raged across the continents of Khazmodan, Lordaeron, and Azeroth itself. As part of its northern campaign, the Horde succeeded in burning down the borderlands of Caldelas, thereby ensuring the elves' final commitment to the land's cause. The greater cities and townships of Lordaeron were razed and devastated by the conflict. Despite the absence of reinforcements and overwhelming odds, Lothar and his allies succeeding in holding their enemies at bay. However, during the final days of the Second War, as the Horde's victory over the Alliance seemed almost assured, terrible feud erupted between the two most powerful orcs on Azeroth, as Doomhammer prepared his final assault against the capital city of Lordaeron, an assault that would have crushed the last remnants of the Alliance. Gul'dan and his followers abandoned their posts and set out to sea. The bewildered Doomhammer, having lost nearly half of his standing forces to Gul'dan's treachery, was forced to pull back and forsake his greatest chance of victory over the Alliance. The power-hungry Gul'dan, obsessed with obtaining godhood itself, set out on a desperate search for the undersea tomb of Sargeras that he believed held the secrets of ultimate power. Having already doomed his fellow orcs to become slaves to the Burning Legion, Gul'dan thought nothing of his supposed duty to Doomhammer. Backed by the Stormreaver and Twilight's Hammer clans, the Gul'dan succeeded in raising the tomb of Sargeras from the C4. However, when he opened the ancient flooded vault, he found only crazed demons awaiting him. Seeking to punish the wayward orcs for their costly betrayal, Doomhammer sent his forces to kill Gul'dan, bringing the renegades back into the fold. For his recklessness, Gul'dan was torn apart by the maddened demons he'd set loose. With their leader dead, the renegade clans quickly fell before Doomhammer's enraged legions. Though the rebellion had been quelled, the Horde was unable to recoup the terrible losses it had suffered. Gul'dan's betrayal had afforded the Alliance not only the hope, but also time to regroup and retaliate. Lord Lothar, seeing that the Horde was fracturing from within, gathered the last of his forces and pushed Doomhammer south, back into the shattered heartland of Stormwind. There, the Alliance forces trapped the remaining Horde within the volcanic spires of Blackrock's forces of Blackrock Spire. Though Lord Lothar fell in battle at the spire's base, Lieutenant Turalion rallied the Alliance forces at the 11th hour and drove the Horde back into the abysmal Swamp of Sorrows. Turion's forces succeeded in destroying the Dark Portal, the mystical gateway that connected the orcs to their homeworld of Draenor. Cut off from its reinforcements and fractured by infighting, the Horde finally buckled in upon itself and fell before the might of the Alliance. The scattered orc clans were quickly rounded up and placed within guarded internment camps. Though it seemed that the Horde had been defeated for good, some remained highly skeptical that the peace would last. Khadgar, now an archmage of some renown, convinced the Alliance High Command to build the fortress of Nethergard that would watch over the ruins of the Dark Portal and ensure that there would be no further invasions from Draenor. My god. Let's see how much is here. I love reading. Just like a ton of lore, because if there's some, it gives me something to say, and if there's something for me to comment on, I've got something to comment on. The devastating Second War against the Orcish Horde left the Alliance and the Alliance of Lordaeron in a state of shock and disarray. The bloodthirsty orcs, led by the mighty war chief Ogrim Doomhammer, not only smashed their way through the dwarf-held lands of Khazmodan, but have razed many of Lordaeron's central provinces as well. The unrelenting orcs even succeeded in ravaging the elves' remote kingdom of Kel'Thas before the rampage was finally stopped. The Alliance armies, led by Sir Anduin Lothar, Uther the Lightbringer, and Admiral Dalen Proudmoore pushed the orcs south into the shattered land of Azeroth, the first kingdom to fall before the orcs' ruthless onslaught. The land's forces under Lothar managed to push Doomhammer's clans out of Lordaeron back into the orc-controlled lands of Azeroth. They kind of just repeated that a second time. It's annoying. For a moment, I was thinking, did I just say that a second time? But just like a blank and reread the same line. But no, they just rephrased the same line twice there. Ultor's forces surrounded the orcs' volcanic citadel at Blackrock Spire and laid siege to the defences. After this effort, Doomhammer and his lieutenants staged a daring charge from the spire and clashed with Lothar's paladins in the centre of the burning steeps. Doomhammer and Lothar squared off in a titanic battle that left both mighty combatants battered and drained. Though Doomhammer narrowly succeeded in vanquishing Lothar, the Great Hoover's death did not have the effect the war chief had hoped for. Turion, Lothar's most trusted lieutenant, took up Lothar's blood-stained shield and rallied the grief-stricken brethren for a vicious counterattack. Under the ragged standards of both Lordaeron and Azeroth, Turion's forces slaughtered the bulk of Doomhammer's remaining forces in a glorious but terrible rout. There was nothing left for the ragged, scattered orc survivors but to flee to the last standing bastion of orcish power, the Dark Portal. Turion and his warriors chased the remaining orcs through the festering Swamp of Sorrows into the corrupted blasted lands where the Dark Portal stood. There, at the foot of the colossal portal, the broken horde and rugged alliance crashed in what would be the last bloodiest battle of the Second War. Outnumbered and driven mad by the curse of their bloodlust, the orcs inevitably fell before the wrath of the alliance. Doomhammer was taken prisoner and escorted to Lordaeron, while his broken clans rounded up and held back and hauled north back to Lordaeron. Oh my god. Ugh. Alright. With the absence of trolls in the Northlands, the elves of Kel'Dalas bent their efforts towards rebuilding their glorious homeland. The victorious armies of Arator returned home to the Southlands of Strom. Or is it meant to be Storm? No, Strom. The human society of Arator grew and prospered, yet Thoradin, fearful that his kingdom would splinter apart if it overextended itself, maintained that Strom was the centre of the Aratorian Empire. After many years of growth and commerce, the mighty Thoradin departed on one final quest, never to return, leaving Arator's younger generation free to expand the empire beyond the lands of Strom. The original 100 Magi, who were tutored in the ways of magic by the elves, expanded their powers and studied mystic disciplines of spell-weaving in much greater detail. These Magi, originally chosen for their strong wills and noble spirits, had always practiced magic with care and responsibility. However, they passed their secrets and powers onto a newer generation that had no concept of the rigors of war or the necessity of self-restraint. These young magicians began to practice magic for personal gain, rather than out of any responsibility towards their fellows. As the empire grew and expanded into new lands, the young magicians also spread out into the Southlands, wielding their mystical powers. The magicians protected their brethren from the wild creatures of the land, and made it possible for new city-states to be constructed in the wilderness. Yet as their powers grew, the magicians became more conceited and isolated from the rest of society. The second Aratorian city-state of Dalaran was founded in the lands north of Strom. Many fledgling wizards left the restraining confines of Strom behind and travelled to Dalaran, where they'd hoped to use their new powers with greater freedom. These magicians used their skills to build up the enchanted spires of Dalaran and revelled in the pursuit of their studies. The citizens of Dalaran tolerated the magicians' endeavours and built up a bustling economy under protection of their magic-using defenders. Yet as more and more magicians practiced their arts, the fabric of reality around Dalaran began to weaken and tear. The sinister agents of the Burning Legion, who had been banished when the Well of Eternity collapsed, were lured back into the world by the heedless spellcasting magicians of Dalaran. Though these relatively weak demons did not appear in force, they did sow considerable confusion and chaos within the streets of Dalaran. Most of these demonic encounters were isolated events, and ruling magocrats did what they could to keep such events hidden from the public. The most powerful magicians were sent to capture the elusive demons, but they often found themselves hopelessly outmatched by the lone agents of the mighty Legion. After months of after a few months, the superstitious peasants